Hello, welcome to my office. In this session, I will give you a full introduction of how to use VLOOKUP. On top of that, I will give you several very useful examples. On the left is the data we have, and in column G and column K, we have the customer ID. We would like to search city. We would like to use VLOOKUP. First, let's click FX in Excel. This one, FX, click, search VLOOKUP. Okay. First, let's see the explanation here. Lookup value. It's the value to be found in the first column of the table and can be a value, a reference, or text string. This is the value we need to search. The table error here has the explanation. It's the data source. And here we choose from A1 to the bottom of the data. This one is the column index. When we search city, which column it will be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we enter column 5 here. Here, normally it has true or false. It's 0 or 1. When it's true, it means choose the closest match. When it's exact match, it's false. Normally, we just enter false. False is equals to 0. So I just enter 0 here. It has the same result. Okay. This is the result. The second one, how to use VLOOKUP in a different sheet. All the data is still here. We would like to use sheet 1 to use VLOOKUP. First, click FX, VLOOKUP, and search C4. The table range, we just go back to data 1. Here, go back to the data source. Choose the same from A1 to the end. Column, we still choose 5. It's the same. Here we need exact match, so enter 0. Here's the result. Now let's introduce how to use VLOOKUP in a different workbook. On the left is the data. On the right is where we would like to use VLOOKUP. It's the same. Click FX, choose VLOOKUP. Drag it here. And the lookup value is the first one. We would like to use VLOOKUP. The data source, we choose A1 to column E and to the end of the data. Column, we choose 5. And we need to exact match, so enter 0. Here's the result. What's the difference of using VLOOKUP in the same sheet, different sheets, or the different workbook? Let me show you here. First, let me show the formula rather than the result. How to show formula in Excel. I have a separate video to introduce how to use it. You can go and take a watch. When we see here, when VLOOKUP is in the same worksheet, there's no absolute reference. When we go to Shift 1, we see the formula here. Also, there's no absolute reference. But when the VLOOKUP is in a different workbook, the default is absolute reference. This is the main difference. Now let me give you some tips how to use VLOOKUP. First, delete the VLOOKUP here. I always recommend you to use the click FX to choose a formula. Click FX and choose the formula in VLOOKUP. Also, you can choose some if, min, max, left, right, and amounts, or something else. This will help you because when you choose the formula here, there is some explanation. What does this mean? It will help you reduce the chance of making a mistake. When you enter equal, VLOOKUP, there is some explanation, but it's very difficult to understand. The second one, choose absolute reference if it's necessary. Let's choose here, click FX, double click VLOOKUP, and lookup value L5, data range, because we need to VLOOKUP city, so choose column A to column E, and go to the end. The column is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last exact match 0. Enter. Sometimes we need to move our data. We can drag the data here. See, the last data is not applicable. What happens? When you see the formula here, compare these two data. Now let's compare the data. From M5 to M8, the source data changed from L5 to L8. That's right. But the data range changed from A1 to E53 to A4 to E56. So when we copy the data or move the data, it's very important. Sometimes we need to use absolute reference. Let's go back. Delete this value. And if we move our mouse here, click F4, and go to A1 again, click F4. Here it has been used absolute reference. Click Enter. Now let's drag the formula again. You see, it has already used absolute reference and all the data is valuable. Next one is very efficient. If you know that all the data is in the same format, you can just choose the entire column rather than the exact content. Let me show you here. Click FX, VLOOKUP, lookup value L5, table value, we can just choose the entire column. This is a table value. And then the city is in column 5. Lookup range 0. Here's the result. If we drag the data now, you see here the data range is column A and E. And here is also column A and E. They are the same result. It's much faster for you to use VLOOKUP. Sometimes the data is too big. You don't know which column it is. You just enter 2. Go to here, click FX, VLOOKUP. This time we look up subcategory. So first, choose L5, the data range, here. The column number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's too many. It's very difficult to count. So you can just enter 2 and go back to here to change it later. And the exact match 0. Okay. So now we can count which column we would like to use VLOOKUP. We just choose all the data here. You see here is number 9. We go back to this formula. Just click FX again. Change here to number 9. Now this is the right result. That's why we need to choose the right starting column. Choose FX. Double click VLOOKUP. Lookup value L5. Here, when we choose the data source, we have to choose which column the column ID is. We have to choose from column A to here. We cannot start from column B. If we start from column B, Excel does not know how to calculate. To 0. You see here it's the wrong data. That's when start to use Tab and Shift tab. In Excel, if you tab, it goes right. If you use Shift tab, it goes back. When I choose VLOOKUP here, click FX, VLOOKUP. First enter data value, and then I click tab, go to the next content. We choose the data here, and click tab again, choose column 5, and click tab again, and enter 0. Now we would like to change the column number. I can just click Shift and tab. I choose 4. I can make a change. Next one I would like to introduce is VLOOKUP is not case sensitive. Here is HGP, the result is Los Angeles. If I change to small HGP, the results are the same. So VLOOKUP is not case sensitive. Here I would like to introduce VLOOKUP is format sensitive. Here we have the customer ID 12011. Here we also have customer ID 12011. If I use VLOOKUP, click here, lookup value, L4, and the table range. This is the data range, and the city is column 5, and we need to exact match 0. Okay. Here is no result here. When you see column A, the data is in the number format. When you see here, column L, it's in the text format. What you can do, we need to convert these two numbers. We can just choose the entire column, go to data, text to columns, and finish. Here is the result. I have a separate video to introduce how to convert text to numbers. Please go and take a watch. The next one here is we need to know that VLOOKUP only looks right. It cannot look left. For example, if we move the city to the left, we cannot use VLOOKUP to look on the left. If you would like to use, you can choose to use XLOOKUP. If in this case, customer ID is here and the city is here, you cannot use VLOOKUP. If you have to use it, you can use XLOOKUP. If you would like to use it, you can change the sequence of data. If you want to move column B before column A, there's several options. First one is you just cut column B and insert before column A. This is one option. Another one is you can click Shift and here move your mouse to the left edge of the column and drag to the left. Here, the result. Beautiful. Next one here is VLOOKUP only look for the first result. Let's see here. Click FX, VLOOKUP, data range. This is the data, column 5, 0. The data, we have HGP 14 here. We have another HGP 14 here. The city is Los Angeles and Chicago. VLOOKUP only look for the first result. I have a separate video to introduce why VLOOKUP is not working. It can solve all of your problems. Please go and take a watch. The link is in the instructions. Thank you. Now let's introduce some useful examples in using VLOOKUP. You have two data. On the left is one data, on the right is another data. Most of the data are the same. For example, you see here, this is the part number, this is the quantity here, this is the quantity. Well, you need to find if they are exactly the same or there's some difference. First, let me go to the left, choose VLOOKUP, click FX, VLOOKUP. Here we choose part number A2, and here we choose column A and B. Column we choose 2, need to exact match. Let's double click. This is the result. Now let's compare the data in column B and column C. Equal C2 minus B2. Double click. We see here and here this data we need to double check. Let's go to the right column, do it again. Click FX, VLOOKUP. Choose A2 and the data range, column A and B on the left. And here, column number 2, and I need to exact match, so enter 0, enter. Double click here. Now we compare the data in column B and column C. Equal C2 minus B2. This is the data we need to double check. Go down here, this data and this data. So you can see it's not applicable. It means this number is not on the left range. Let's copy and search on the left. It's not here. Right now you just need to double check the several data in yellow, and others are all good. Next one is how to combine VLOOKUP with star in Excel. In Excel, star means everything. When we enter HP star, it means all the data start with HP. If we enter star ABC star, it means all the data include ABC. If we enter star BBC, it means all the data ends with BBC. Now let's try how to use it. Click FX, VLOOKUP. You see here in column A, all the data has dash 99. On the right column K, there's no dash 99. How can I use VLOOKUP? The first option, you can insert a column on the left, and we'll click FX, choose formula left, and left, B2, choose 3, OK. Now you can use VLOOKUP. This is one option, but you need to do it probably every time. Here's another one, let me introduce to you. Click FX, VLOOKUP, VLOOKUP value, and we use and sign, and then use a double quote. In the middle, we enter star. And the data range, which is all the data here. And the column, enter 2 first because it's too long. And 0. How many columns do I have here? Number 9. So I go back to here, click FX, choose a column to 9. OK. This is the result. You see here, it means I use the K2 and sign and star sign, and it tells me that all the data starts with HP1, it will be included. I can double click. This is all the result. Next one is how to use VLOOKUP for 2 criteria. Here is the SO number, here is the part number, here is the unit sold, and here is the data we would like to use. First, let's use the concatenate formula. Click FX, concatenate. Double click. K4. Between the data, I would like to add a slash to make it clear. Slash and L4. OK. Let's see the data here. This is the combined two data. Let's drag it back. Copy it here. Before column A, we add 1 column. Here, we use a concatenate. B2, add a slash in the middle, and the part number D2. OK. Let's double click. Now let's go to N4, use VLOOKUP. fx VLOOKUP. The value we choose combined data K4, and the data source we choose column A to column G, and column number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exact match 0. Here is the result. If we copy the data to here, that's the result. Next one is how to combine VLOOKUP with IFERROR. Go to M4, click FX, choose VLOOKUP. Lookup value L4, and we choose the entire column. Column number 5, range exact match 0. Here, this is the result. But sometimes we would like to have some more data here. And then if I enter a customer ID 12019, looks very nice, but when you see here not available, it's very ugly. What can we do? Here, let's go back to M4, copy the data, and then you need to copy the data from here. Click FX, choose IFERROR, and copy the VLOOKUP value. Please be careful, you cannot enter equal here. Value IFERROR will enter empty, it's just a double quote. OK. Let's drag the data to the bottom. It's clean and neat. If I enter a new data here, 12022, it's here. Enter one more one, 12027. That's the result. The last example here is combine VLOOKUP with min and max. For example, we have the part number, item tab, and the weight here. I have a note, if the weight is less than 3, set as 3 pounds. How to use that? First, let's create a VLOOKUP. Click FX, choose VLOOKUP. Use data G5 and the data range, column 3 and 0. Double click. You see here, we have some weight is 2.8, 1.7, 2.9. Because we have a requirement that we need to choose no less than 3, so we can just copy this formula here. Copy and delete them all. Click FX, choose max. Enter the VLOOKUP formula. Number 2, we enter 3. Let's drag the data again. Now you see all the data is no less than 3. If it is less than 3, we choose 3. If it is bigger than 3, choose the exact result. That's all for today's introduction. Thank you for watching.